Okay, one thing to remember before you take your tank to the machine shop is to pull your sending unit out. What we're going to do is there's going to be 5 screws. It's going to be a long gated assembly, and we'll show you how to get that out here in just a second, and I'll also show you how it goes back in. Okay, and here's my tank after I've got it back. As you see, what we've had done is about a 1.5 to 2 inch lip around the bottom of the tank. So what they've done, they made a whole bottom that is oversized, corner cut the edges, folded it up, and made a complete trough around this tank, and then welded all the way around about 2 inches up. So they could not find any bad spots on this tank. They pressure tested, they soaped it, they just could not find anything. Of course, I'm 100% the fuel was coming from the bottom. All my fuel was in the storage tray underneath the tank. But apparently it has something to do with the cold temperatures allowing these tanks to stress crack and leak, and we've never found the leak on it, so I'm not taking it out and putting it back in for no reason. We know there's a problem with these tanks. Definitely got it checked, fixed, and replaced. So that bottom now is doubled up with the new layer. They used 1/8 inch aluminum, and of course, if you got a good machine shop like we do, you know, they fix pontoons on boats, fuel tanks on the semi trucks. You know, we know they're going to do a good job. They done a high pressure test on the tank after they got done. Seems to be rock solid. Plus now I got a dual bottom. So just overall investment, I've got roughly $500 invested in doing this. That includes going to the radiator shop, which has a chemical tank. They boil the tank. They boiled it for 3 days to get all the fumes out of it. That way it could be safe to weld. Then that included the aluminum and all the machine work done on the tank. So you know, every town's different, every labor rate's different, but expect around $500 plus or minus. And hopefully I'll be able to get this thing back in a day or two and continue on this video. Okay, when you reinstall your sending unit for your fuel tank, make sure your float is aiming towards the side of the tank where the nozzle is here. I'm going to slide it in and slide it to the bottom corner. Make sure your gasket's lined up. And of course mine has a little small sticker here, and the grounding screw goes towards the fuel nozzle. So best thing to do is don't over tighten any one screw at first. Just get them started, because if not, you'll cross thread your screws. Kind of like putting a wheel on a car. Go side to side, and if you get them all started, then you can go back and torque them. And also to make sure to check your gasket. Mine was about to get to the point where I need to replace it. It still seals good. I'm not going to bother it for now. But if your gasket looks too dry rotted or too many cracks, go ahead and get you another gasket made, or a flat piece of rubber from like AutoZone, O'Reilly's, or one of the auto part stores. They sell gasket material that you can make a duplicate gasket, and I would probably advise to do that if you're in question. You don't want fumes leaking back into the cabin. just as I thought in the previous video when I stated the lower drawers should slide in from the front, they did. They were very tight. I was able to get in front of it and just kind of put my feet on, one foot on each side, left and right, and you just kind of push evenly, and it pushed back in pretty nicely. And you'll be able to see where your old caulk line was from the factory. Just don't push past it, because then you're probably going to have to go all the way out the back again and start over. So I just tapped in at the very end. I just tapped in lightly until I got to where I could line the screw holes up, put the screw holes in that were in the inside edges, you know, here and down below, you know, there's on each side, and everything went back in really nicely. So all I have to do is run a nice bead of silicone back around like it was factory and seal it back off. As you see, we used a gas safe 12-volt motor. This was able to hook the power leads up to the batteries down below and unhook the fuel line going to the Ford engine, and just soften right back out of the Ford engine into the starter engine. Okay, what I've done now, I've got a 2-foot by 4-foot section of 3/4 inch plywood. It was a scrap piece at the cutoff section at I believe I got it at Lowe's, so your home improvement store. And I cut off sections that were about 4 inches by, you know, 5 to 10 inches long, and then some of them were up to about 24 inches long. I just kind of measured out some areas, and I made a section all the way around where half of the board was under, half the board was out. That way when you lay the section back in, it has a nice support. And what I done, I actually used some liquid nails, run a nice bead of liquid nails on the top half of the board, and just put some 1-inch screws in as temporary holders. And then I'm going to go back and put some nice looking screws that match the rest of the bolt after the liquid nail dries. Now I tried to put the screws in, you know, kind of like the rest of the factory screws would be. You know, everybody has a preference. One thought I had would be use fiberglass and some C-clamps and fiberglass the boards in. That way you don't have to have the screws, but it's going to be underneath the couch, so it didn't really bother me a bit. Again, everybody has a different way of doing this particular procedure. Just use plywood, you know, that way you don't have to worry about a board splitting or breaking on you. If you use any kind of wood such as pine, oak, it's just going to splinter and split in half, and then you're going to be in a mess. So plywood is going to be more durable about this situation. Again, small boards, insert around the edges, try to get your foam back in, which I've got to still do at the very end here. And I am about ready to put this piece in and be done. I'll probably actually just put some liner tape around the edges of the hole just to make sure my repair went good for the next couple weeks, and then I'll go back in with some white sealant and seal the final lines off, and I should be ready for the season. Hope this video has helped. Hope nobody else has the same problem I've had, and if so, I'm on the Carver forum. Feel free to ask any questions, and I'll be glad to answer them.